Ah, spontaneous painting. You know, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm going. You coming with me? Hello, minders. Welcome back to the Mind of Watercolor. You know, spontaneous painting is probably my most requested type of episode. And you probably wonder, well, if that's the case, why don't you do more of them? Well, I thought about it, but if I did, I wouldn't be able to share as many neat techniques and stuff with you. And most spontaneous painting is just landscape, so I would always be painting landscape. So I can't just do that, but I will do more of them. In the latest survey I took with you guys, I got several requests to do more of them. And literally those episodes have just kind of blown the others away in numbers. So from time to time, I'll do it. It's a great exercise. And I'm going to do one today. We're going to look at the new Watercolor Canson Heritage paper. This is very new. In fact, it's kind of hard to find. Supposedly Canson, which is almost as old as Arches. Canson goes back to 1557. Apparently the idea is they're going to take all their paper making experience and put it into top line flagship paper, 100% cotton, cylinder mold made, with all of the past experience coupled with the newest advances in paper making. So Canson Heritage has been born. We'll see how it is. This will not necessarily be a review. I will do some remarks at the end on what I think of the paper, but really time kind of will tell over doing several paintings with it and comparing it to other flagship papers like Arches or Fabriano, Artistico, that kind of a thing. But I'm excited to do a spontaneous painting with it today. So it's just a great way to try out several techniques. Yeah, so what do you think? It's time to get spontaneous again, don't you think? Yeah, that's a great spontaneous answer. Yep, so Reese is anxious to get spontaneous. In case you didn't know, that's his spontaneity face right there. Nice going, buddy. Anyway, let's get to painting, okay? Yeah, so it's a real treat to try a new paper. I mean, in art supplies, we just don't get really enough or that many new things coming along. So it's kind of exciting when you do get something that's pretty new to give it a try. I don't expect it to be a super unique paper. If it's anywhere close to Arches, it'll be a success. I mean, Arches has just got a formula that is very, very hard to beat. Got a nice sort of randomish cold press texture. Now I was looking at Plein Air magazine, and spontaneity is great, but there are a few things you need to plan. And I usually have stages in which I do spontaneous paintings. I like this color scheme. It's got the equivalent of azo greens, some oranges and yellow greens and purples. And I'm probably going to work in sort of that color scheme. I'm going to build a composition over here, and I'm going to try turning the paper and get some drips and runs going this way. And I'll just use a variety of things. Spray, spatter, wet and wet washes. That's where the spontaneity comes in. I've got my M-gram palette out. Okay, I think I got my wash brushes ready to go. Alright, so I'm going to start pre-wetting the paper here. You can really use any large wash brush to do this. I'm using the bristle brush, which it's a good pre-wetter, so artist Sterling Edwards uses it. I like the way it just kind of mashes the wetness down into the paper. And believe it or not, these bristle brushes hold a lot of moisture. So right off the bat, we're going to see how this paper takes a heavy water application. Let it get good and soaked in. Sometimes I put a second application just because the first soaks in. Some artists call that priming. I don't want I don't want a lot of water on the surface because I want the paint to move here in the beginning. Looking good. It's looking like I'll have something to work with. At this point, I want some of this sheen to die off. Which normally for wet and wet, that's a danger zone when the sheen dies off of your painting. I want it to die off because I want to spatter in a few little intentional backgrounds. And once when the paper is still wet, but dull, the sheen is all gone, that's your primary best time for a background. And you can paint in there after the sheen is gone, but it usually takes a little bit of like heavy pigment and low water. All right, so we're going to let this dry just a little bit more. All right, so the sheen is mostly gone now, and I'm using yet a slightly smaller bristle brush. These are also blenders. If you've seen my other episodes where I've used them, this one was what was completely dry, and when these paper is still wet, you can kind of push back as you lift. So it's a good time to kind of push back pigment in areas that you might want to make something, you know. Now, as I mentioned, I have a really good dull, there's still a little sheen down here, but I have a real good dull but damp surface. So normally this is when you don't want to paint because you'll get backgrounds, but a little spatter is okay. And I use this kind of sprayer by just barely pulling the trigger a little bit. And instead of a spray, I get sprinkles. Okay? Okay, that's what I was looking for. These drips here, though, that's kind of cool. See how it's producing a background? You're in prime background condition right now. And it'll go in there and just push back and make these little water spots. It's exactly what I'm looking for right here. I may take a chance on some just slightly bigger water drops. Ah, yes. Look at those little pebbly things in there. That's what gets me excited, you know? And, you know, if you want, you can maybe touch an area with clear water and just see. You know, I've said it before. If you watched all my episodes, or many of them, you probably know my embrace failure as a teacher motto. If you're not willing to fail at this painting, then you're not going to discover much. If you're not willing to fail when you sit down to do a painting, you're going to have a hard time really, doing any neat and surprising things, just because watercolors is less likely to cooperate with you and do anything. Okay, I am really excited about what I see now and what I can make out of this. So I am finally to the stage where I'm going to let this all dry bone dry, okay? Alright, so this is basically dry now. Nice and dry. And this is the phase, if you're not familiar with my spontaneous painting, this is the phase in which it gets less spontaneous. We already have a really good start here. I really don't have to do a lot except to maybe define some edges. And I spend a lot of time at this point looking at it and deciding what I'm going to punch back and what I'm going to pull forward. Now, the punching back is the easiest part. That's just kind of darkening. Like maybe if I want to push this little dark area further back and establish some edges. And pulling forward is the part that I spend a little less time on and don't get a little less involved in because it involves scrubbing. But should I want to lift or bring something forward, then that's what I would do. So I'm going to start with going through and punching back some areas and defining some edges. Now, the great thing about a piece that's kind of painted itself this way is I don't want to destroy any of the beautiful passages. So I want to leave a lot of soft edges. I only want to define enough edges to make sense of it. And I think it'll be really cool to do that, and I'll leave it kind of dreamy. I'm going to start out with using these two brushes. These are silver black velvets. Just this one here is a 1/4 inch flat, and this one here is a number 6 round.
I was lost in a city dream, and I was at home again beside the stream. Then you walked past me, and you saw me and smiled. I will never forget the first time when I saw you. I thought I lost my mind. Blue and faded was blown away and left behind. You are like a summer breeze that I must inhale. Is it possible for us to feel this way forever? Loving you has never felt more right. Woke up lonely, and for you there is nothing in this world I wouldn't do. I would walk 1,000 miles just to see you. I hope you'll always be around, even if I fail. You are like a summer breeze that I must inhale. Is it possible for us to feel this way forever? I hope you'll always be around, even if I fail. You are like a summer breeze that I must inhale. Is it possible for us to feel this way forever? Loving you has never felt more right.
Alright, so I told you I'd give you a few comments, final comments on this Canson paper. I really like it. You could tell it's a high quality paper. No problems at all in the wet washes. It takes a lot of water, it takes it well. The washes handle about like you would expect. It takes color real well. Color stays fairly vibrant. The one thing I noticed about it is it's sized differently than Arches. It's heavily sized, which means that paint lifts out of it easily. That can be good, that can be bad. If you paint with a lot of glazes, easily lifted paint can sometimes get you in trouble. I did find that I could glaze over light areas pretty easily if the successive glazes were dry, fairly dry. You just have to use a little less water. But as I use this paper in the future, if I have any other things I notice, I will comment on them. It's a great paper. Well, I believe for now I'm going to leave it right there. I'll, as usual, be doctoring it here and there as I look it over. But I think that's pretty nearly done. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in and watching. If this was something that helped you or you enjoyed, I hope you'll give me a thumbs up. I hope you'll subscribe. Thank you so much, patrons, for taking a tangible role in supporting all the time and effort that goes into making this content. You guys are the best, and I couldn't be doing it right now without you. So to everybody, we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.